Is it up here, Chris?
Yes, come on up.
I first came across Chris Chapman's work about 25 years ago, not long after the foot and mouth crisis. Chris produced a book of photographs, Silence at Ramscliffe, where he catalogued the different stages of a cull on one Devon farm, shot entirely in black and white, as all his photos are. They were bleak and beautiful at the same time, and they told us a story of the challenges that farmers face, as well as giving us an insight into their daily lives, something Chris has been doing for more than 50 years. So this is your studio, Chris.
It's a little bit of an artist's garret. It's a most wonderful place to work, but as you can see, I haven't tied it up for you this morning, have I?
It looks pretty tidy to me. The wind is howling round outside. How high up are we?
We're exactly 800 feet.
The studio has got various black and white photographs on the walls.
This one here is an old picture, 1978, of Owen and Joe, is one of my favourites, mainly because of the story behind it.
These are the farmers.
I'd been invited to go down and photograph the killing of the farm pig, but on the morning, Owen changed his mind, and I said, that's fine, you know, you don't push into private lives. But a few days later, when I was trundling along in my little Reliant three-wheeler, and Joe came out of the garden gate and waved me down, and he said, I'm sorry, Owen changed his mind. I said, oh, that's all right. He said, do you want to see the pig? And I said, oh, yes, please. So without my camera, I got out of the car, went through the garden, and there was the pig hanging up. And I was just gobsmacked because my Uncle Terence kept pigs. And this was a big pig to me. And Owen came out of the shed. I said, do you mind if I photograph it? And he said, no, it's fine. So I ran back to the car, got my camera, and when I came back, they were stood ready to have their photograph taken.
How would you describe that picture?
It's two brothers proudly stood side by side with the pig hanging upside down from a beam. Now look closely, and there are the strangest things nailed to the beam. Those are paws of foxes that they've caught on the farm. The roundness of the boot scraper, the drain below the pig's head, the round of the Wellington boots, the round of the haunch.
Yeah.
All those shapes all help to bring in this composition. As a photographer, you don't notice that. It probably implants in your brain as you're taking the picture, but you don't. It's not really what you recognise. What you're looking for is a picture that communicates the wondrous thing that's in front of you. In fact, the one next to it is called Cow Time, and it's where Joe rang me and he said, do you fancy coming down and taking a picture of cow times? And I said, what's cow time? And he said, oh, it's where I bring all the South Devon calves into the yard to suckle on their mothers. So I stand back, and I love the fact that it's backlit, so the sun is shining straight into my lens, so I'm flagging the lens, trying to take this picture, Joe looking very proud at his cows and his calves, and suddenly, to the left, at the corner of my eye, I saw this cockerel ducks under the 5-bar gate with two of his lady hens and just walks across the stage.
Why did you want to photograph farmers? What is it about farming that attracts you?
It was in my blood. Two of my mother's brothers were farmers. Her great aunt and uncle were farmers. I used to spend a lot of time on those farms as a child, and I just loved it. What I love about Britain is that you don't have to drive very far to see a completely different landscape. And landscape, to me, dictates culture. You know, I never wanted to be some famous fashion photographer or, you know, paparazzi. It's of no interest to me whatsoever. But turning a camera onto the things you love about life, the things that you see, the things that you know, that you have an interest in, to my mind, bring the best pictures.
Looking through the pictures in your latest book, celebrating 50 years of photographing Dartmoor and people on Dartmoor, do you think there's something nostalgic about them? Do you have a sense of capturing a way of life that is disappearing?
Yes, you're capturing things that are disappearing, but you're always going to be doing that if you're a photographer. You know, 50 years, things change, culture changes. In recent years, we've seen this amazing push here on Dartmoor by rewilders. Some of them would like to see the farming disappear off the moor. Can't agree to that, I'm afraid. People who want to plant more trees on the moor. And I listen to them and I think, well, actually, are you using your eyes? Are you using your eyes? There are more trees now on the edge of Dartmoor than there were 120 years ago. I can prove it by photography.
Are you trying to educate?
Yes, I am, in my quiet way. I'm not a political activist, and I don't go banging the drum. The last chapter in my book is called Hallowed Earth. So I've tried to explain my love of archaeology and my respect for my ancestors and how sacred this place was to them, because it certainly was. The evidence is there. And then I've tried to show some of the damage that I think's been done by bad government policy.
I mean, these photographs are political in a way.
I did say to people, during Foot and Mouth, that I grew up with Foot and Mouth. I had a phone call from Devon County Council, and they said, would you be interested in a commission, going out with your camera and documenting across Devon what's happening under this umbrella of Foot and Mouth, the crisis. So I started documenting just the everyday in the life of a small dairy farmer, Philip Lake, and we got on really well. And I would take these pictures and I'd give him pictures. And then one morning I was up there photographing his mother and father doing the milk round, put the kettle on, and the phone went, and it was MAF. And they'd be arriving at 11 o'clock to slaughter everything.
As quick as that?
Quick as that. And I stayed. In the end, it was like I was in a dream. My camera was clicking away. I'm very proud of those pictures, but I just remember as the day wore on, and when they started to bring the calves out and kill the calves, and Robert was there, wonderful vet, with a syringe in one hand, and the calf was naturally trying to suckle his fingers, as if they were the mother's teats. You notice things like that. And I got home, and for days afterwards I was in shock. That's how I felt. I was angry. I was angry about this contiguous cull policy because I didn't agree with it, and the fact that the vet has said to me there's nothing wrong with these animals. So I realised the power of photography, and of course what was amazing after that, Devon County Council then used those pictures for their public inquiry. I was very proud of that.
Well, Chris, you have spent your whole career photographing farmers, so it seems only right that we should go and visit one of them. So where are we off to?
We're going to go and see Titch Scott. I've photographed his father, his mother, his sons. So they're part of my archive. I'm immensely fond of him. Blowing an absolute hoolie today, but this very spot is where I photographed the 3 generations. And I'm just noticing now, hello Titch, I'm just noticing the tyre is missing.
The tyre, I'm not sure where the tyre has gone, but the shed is still here, the house is here, and we're here, and we've been here 68 years last Sunday. And we're quite proud of that. And to stay on one farm, you have to be consistent, you have to, well, be good and honest and true to everyone, else your neighbours would drive you out.
I've never driven him out, and he's not driven me out.
No.
Shall we get out of the wind a bit?
Let's get out
I think
the
that's
wind.
a good idea. There's
Yeah.
a shed. That's better.
Talk me through the process of Chris taking your photograph. How does it work? Is it very kind of off the cuff?
They're pretty casual, nobody poses or anything, we just carry on as normal. And that's the beauty of it, it catches you just in the moment.
When you first photographed Titch, you didn't know him.
No, I can't remember.
I saw you in the pub,
Right.
didn't I, which you'd go in from time to
Yeah.
time. And I'm going to have to tell you about the cigarettes. he smoked, but he very rarely bought a packet.
Thank you very much.
So he'd stop and he'd say, here, you haven't got a fag I could have. So I'd let him have the cigarette and he'd light it up and puff it. And then he'd say, you haven't got another one I can have later on.
That's
and
not true.
I'd give him another one.
It's because he was a penniless photographer.
That's why.
That's my payment for all the hard
and
work.
10 cigarettes back then were about 15 pence.
One of the things Fiona was talking about in my studio about the passage of time and nostalgia, but I don't think I've ever told you this, but your father was in the pub one day and he pulled me over and he said, "You know, boy, you're 10 years too late with what you're doing."
Yeah.
And he wasn't right. He wasn't
No, he
right.
wasn't right, no. I think if you came in the early 60s, you would have caught some horses working in the fields. By the time you came here in the 70s, you see, that had all gone.
He thought that I was looking back. I
No,
wasn't looking
no,
back,
no,
I was looking
no.
now. That's what my
Yeah.
photography was about.
20, 30, 40 and 50 years later, those photos are absolutely priceless because you can't go back in time and take them again. And we're very, very lucky to have him. And Fiona, he's put his life to it, into photographing people, more so than views. He was never interested in views, but people and just what they were doing at the time.
For you, what are they saying about Dartmoor and Dartmoor life?
I think they're saying Dartmoor is a working environment, and these are the people. People say they're characters. Well, yeah, they are characters, but they're just going about living their lives.
The wind here is something else, and it shows no sign of letting up. Farming Today was produced and presented by me, Fiona Clampin.